The world across has seen the emergence of the term Indigenous people, which is highly ingrained in the history of colonialism. The idea of Naga peoplehood or the Naga national consciousness has begun long before decolonization came to our part of the world. Nagas are very clear about the history and about their distinct cultural identity as a peoples and a nation. By a strange historical accident, the Naga people found themselves incorporated into two newly independent states, that is India and Myanmar, after the decolonization process. The Naga resistance has been a response, a natural response to the many decades of encroachment and colonizing of our territorial space. The successor states began to aggressively do the state building. So they used whatever force was at the disposal in terms of the military force, in terms of the various inducement projects to nullify and deny the existence of a distinct cultural identity in that part of the region. Along with this, they denied the legal existence of our people, imposed the state boundary over our ancestral territorial space, and divided our people into different boxes. The Naga struggle for dignity and eventual resistance against the intrusion of the successor states, I consider as a contestation between two opposing worldviews. The first is the dominant Eurocentric discourse on nation-state worldview, and the other is on the Indigenous cosmovision. In the first Eurocentric worldview, it is heavily influenced by legalism and excludes the collective identity or collectivities like indigenous communities from the national life, and grades it or categorize it along with the flora and fauna of the given ecology, which is more or less a subhuman category. The indigenous people's view land and people as one, and their worldview is very much about the interconnectedness of with the natural world. The contestation is that the newly emerging state does not include indigenous people as subject of inclusion within the discourse, but as object of exploitation and expropriation. Likewise, in Naga context, the Indian state, for instance, says that the Naga territories and the Naga people became part of the Indian state by virtue of the handover from the British India, which in a way is more or less categorized Nagas and their territory as mere objects to be handed from one owner to another, which is a very idea which Nagas resisted, that they are not objects to be handed over to another, or the future cannot be determined by someone else. So many years and decades of resistance took place, and we have seen a lot of dehumanization and devastation of our homeland. The Indian state has used everything, every power within its capacity to subjugate and subdue the resistance. Today we see the Naga resistance leadership engage in constructive dialogue with the Indian state leadership to resolve the long-standing disagreement within the two parties that continued since independence. With the creative and constructive process of dialogue on, the Nagas need to also look within, because in a long protracted conflict, the Naga house have experienced a lot of division, dehumanization, destruction of the ecology, and people have undergone many emotional, psychological and physical traumas due to the conflict that remain unresolved. The Naga people must make effort to reconcile not only within themselves but even with the neighboring communities. As human beings, as finite individuals or communities or groups, I feel that no one has a monopoly over sufferings. But as said, we have been hurt, we have also inflicted hurt, and as a necessary healing process, there is need to forgive one another and work towards a genuine reconciliation process. The Naga people deserve peace at this very moment, because we have been through a very long phase of struggle, and as their opportunity for resolution, we should all try to focus on the larger vision of the people, transcending the many differences that may exist as individuals, as communities, as political groups, so that our differences does not prevent us from having a shared future. We need to look into the needs and interests, hopes and fears of the different communities and work towards achieving our dignity, freedom, inclusion, and just peace.